Welcome back. Now, this is actually a first for the industry. We are being live streamed to the world right now and on YouTube's page and everywhere else. So I want everybody, 1, 2, 3, on a count of 1, 2, 3, I want to say, hello world, all right? Ready? 1, 2, 3, hello world! So thank you guys. This panel, I've been waiting for this the whole show. This is going to be pretty amazing because of the lineup of people here. And it all started a year ago when I was talking with who's going to be the moderator of this panel, which is Raul Burriel from Oregon State University, works in streaming media there. And he's like, you should cover education at Vidcon. And I was like, okay, I don't know anything about education. I don't even remember my own education. And I was like, okay, let's find some experts. He said, well, I'm an expert. And so we did that. We started talking, brought in Noel Waghorn, who's lead producer writer at ACS Productions, American Chemical Society. I was like, that's another expert, good. And then all of a sudden I realized, I was so stupid. Who are the smartest people in education in the world when it comes to online video? Well, Hank and John Green, right? So I got in touch with Hank, I'm like, and John, I'm like, what should we do? And John's like, oh, I want to be on the panel. And then he said, we should get somebody from Khan Academy, and we should get someone from TED. And how about somebody from YouTube? And I'm like, okay. So that's what we did. So this panel is going to be amazing. Let me tell you who's going to be on it, besides Raul, who's going to host it, and Noel, who's going to be out here as well, and John. So James Tynan, who's the VP of Strategy and Operations from Khan Academy. I told you about John Green. You all know him. Logan Smalley, Director of TED Ed from TED Conferences. And Malik Ducard is the Global Head of Family and Learning for YouTube. So I'm just going to sit out here and watch. We will have Q&A in this section as well. We'll have runners with mics. So whenever Raul wants to do Q&A, get your questions ready. Let's get started. Take it away, guys.
Everybody, thank you for joining us. Thank you to Jim and Vidcon for this opportunity. This is, I think, going to be a very interesting panel. Really, honestly, I'm just going to let you guys talk, but let's start with a softball, really. And tell us, each of you, just what you guys are doing with video, online video and education right now. We'll start over here with Malik.
Sure. So really happy to be here. Thank you. So I work at YouTube on the family and education space at YouTube, and we're doing a couple of things. We really strive to make education available for anyone at any time. We really try to work hard to support learners on the platform who are viewing a lot of the great content that everyone here has created. And from a support standpoint, we really truly believe that when we're doing our job the best, that we're helping to encourage the ecosystem of educational creators, edutainers, a whole range of teachers and educators on the platform. Another thing that we're working on is on the younger side of the spectrum, on the kids side of the spectrum, we launched an app called YouTube Kids, and with that app we're looking at the next generation of digitally literate citizens, and how can we help to support them. And in YouTube Kids we really encourage and surface enriching content, educational content, engaging content that can help kids explore the world around them. So those are just a couple of things that we're working on right now.
Great. Logan?
Hey everyone, Logan Smalley. I'm the director of TED Ed at TED Conferences. I'm also a former high school special education teacher, and I directed a documentary, feature-length documentary called Darius Goes West. So I've sort of been working in education and video my whole career. As far as TED Ed goes, our mission is to celebrate the ideas of teachers and students around the world, and we pursue that in a couple of different ways. One is we have an open nomination platform that allows any teacher to nominate themselves or another teacher, and we work with them to sort of capture their best lesson, and then we pair that with a professional animator and publish it on TED Ed's channels. We also have an online platform, ed.ted.com, that allows people to create interactive lessons around not only TED content, but any video on YouTube, and that's used quite a bit in both inside schools and outside of schools. And then I think the final thing I should mention here is how we celebrate student ideas. which is a program called TED Ed Clubs. And it's basically this promise to students that it asks them what are they passionate about, and it asks them to declare an idea that they want to pursue across a series of meetings. And then our commitment to them is that we will publish that idea on TED's channels, and we will also invite 40 of them 3 times a year to the TED conference to have their idea recorded, professionally. So we're pretty excited about that. That's a new program, and we hope it turns into a massive celebration of student ideas.
And I'm John Green. I'm technically the co-founder of Vidcon, but only because I was on the phone with my brother on that fateful day in 2009. My brother and I have been making online video back and forth to each other in a sort of 10-year-long conversation since 2007. But we always wanted to make educational content, or what we called properly educational videos, because a lot of the videos that we would make would be sort of informational, but they wouldn't have the animation or the rigor that comes with not just animation, but also the rigor of the writing that you need to have effective educational video, and lots of other things that we just weren't able to do. And then we were able to start our Crash Course channel with one of the Google original grants in 2011, and Crash Course has grown to be a really big part of our lives, and also a big part of the lives of lots of high school students in the United States and elsewhere. And so that's, I guess, why I'm here. Crash Course is basically 10-minute long videos that try to talk about something with nuance and also with genuine excitement, from chemistry to biology to world history to literature. And what we're working on now is building out curricular materials so that teachers and students can download those materials for free and use them in their classrooms to make the experience of watching the videos much richer.
My name is Noel Waghorn. I am the lead writer and producer of the channel Reactions, which is from the American Chemical Society. We're the world's largest scientific society, and I'm a recovering journalist. I spent 10 years as a journalist working for ABC, Associated Press, etc. And I was brought on at the beginning of 2014 to help relaunch a chemistry channel that was called Bite Size Science that my boss, who's here, so I'll say nice things about it, had been going on for a while, and we wanted to do a more engaging, more sort of kinetic, but also very scientifically sound show about chemistry and the chemistry of everyday life. And that's what we did. Two and a half years later, we're at 160,000 subscribers and about 20 million or so video views, and so it's been fantastic. And it's coming from a completely unscientific or non-science background, and having a chain-smoking, caffeine-addicted chemistry teacher in 10th grade was my only exposure to chemistry, and now I've learned more in 2.5 years than I ever did in her class. But we've always believed that chemistry is unfortunately one of the more inaccessible hard sciences, and we wanted to show people that it's everywhere, and it's in just about everything you do, and it's inside you. And so I'm very excited and very almost overwhelmed to be on such a cool panel here. So thank you for having me.
And hi, I'm James from Khan Academy. Khan Academy, I guess, rose to prominence on the back of online educational video, and mostly made by our founder, Sal Khan. We now have a big content team making lots and lots of videos, which is a lot of fun. We also have developed a online learning platform that kind of goes beyond video and has interactive practice and adaptive learning and that kind of thing. But Raul, can I do a shameless plug? It might be, I don't know, hopefully it's going to be relevant to some people in this room, is that we just recently launched a talent search as well, where anyone could create, if you're interested in creating kind of core curricular content around middle school and high school topics, anyone can kind of submit a video right now on Khan Academy and win prizes. And the content team would kill me if I didn't kind of plug to this audience, because I'm sure there are a bunch of people here who might be interested in making a video. And of course, we really want to help surface those people and help them kind of make a career out of making online educational videos.
All right, thank you guys. Let's get back to Malik just for another question. Now, YouTube isn't necessarily in the business of curating content. It's all about getting all the videos online. At the same time, there is this YouTube education channel, youtube.com/edu. And to a further degree, you guys have handled these education grants. You guys were instrumental in the expansion of Crash Course. So tell us a little bit about the grants and how what the decision-making process was in deciding who got the grants.
Sure. So, what I would say, just in general, what we try to do is support creators in the educational space across the board, and using a variety of different.
There's a problem with the microphone. Here we go.
Get a new mic. Thank you. How's that?
Ooh, nice.
All right. A little better? Is that good? All right. So we support creators and work with creators in a number of different ways. So you mentioned the grants. That's something that we did a few years ago, and we were really happy to partner up with the teams here. We also work on a partner management basis to really help to inform partners on what's coming up on YouTube. What are some of the new features? What are ways to optimize channels and grow channels? So just a couple different ways. In terms of like curation, you asked about that. The YouTube education channel is something that we work closely on, but it isn't the only thing that we do. And YouTube has evolved to a place where more people come through the side doors of YouTube than the front doors. So what we really work hardest at doing is working with creators and helping them to grow their presence, because the side doors and what really people are going to see is Crash Course, is TED Ed, is Khan Academy. So when we're really flying with what we're doing, they're growing and eyeballs are going to them. But this actually might be a good point to pivot to a video, because the YouTube education area is really nothing without the creators, and we actually put together kind of a highlight reel to highlight some of the amazing activity that creators are doing on the platform. So if we can, this is actually the first time we're showing this, so if we can show the reel, that'd be great.
Surprise video. The whole point of education is to get people to learn. If there's no learning going on, there's no education going on.
Hello, AP Calculus students.
How much does a shadow weigh?
I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, your host.
All cooking is chemistry, so the better you understand chemistry, the better you understand cooking.
Is there any credibility to centipedes having 100 legs and millipedes having 1,000 legs?
No. They're just leggier.
Ancient Egypt is probably the most influential of the River Valley civilization.
I've heard a lot about you.
The Code of 87 should sound like this.
Why should the younger generation be interested in politics?
You want to express your voice and what you care about.
Printable magnets. It's amazing.
There's a part of us that really wants or even needs to have an answer to these things.
It's high time that all Indians produce their own electricity.
Who's ready to get started?
This is the world's most important freezer.
What if I told you I built a machine that creates energy?
So there are connections between hip-hop and science.
Millions, billions.
Curiosity is the engine of achievement. If you can light the spark, people will rise to it.
All right. So the power of what the creators who are on the panel and the audience do is massive. And one last thing I wanted to share is that we did some digging into the YouTube systems and looked at, well, what kind of content are people watching just on the platform in general. And the stat that we arrived at was that every single day nearly 500 million video views of learning-related content gets watched on YouTube, which is just massive, and we're really thankful for that.
That's definitely mind-boggling, and I think it's a reflection not necessarily of a lot of people watching a few videos, but rather many people watching many videos.
That's right.
And I think this actually goes to something John said at the keynote yesterday about growth just for the sake of growth isn't necessarily useful, because people become less engaged as you have more viewers. We were talking about just Khan Academy videos, James, about how some videos are very complex and they might only reach maybe 100 or 1,000 viewers, but the truth is those 100 or those 1,000 viewers are going to be the ones who are the most engaged, the ones who are mind blown. Now, do each of you have measurements on what a successful video is, either statistically or even anecdotally? What are you hearing about when you make a video? What is a success, or maybe what isn't a success when you make a video online? Let's start with James.
Sure, yeah. I mean, the thing that we're keeping in mind is that student who it's 11 p.m. at night, they have a test the next day, they fundamentally feel lost and don't understand the subject. If we're able to create something that helps them in that moment, that's a win for us. And I think we have a bunch of different ways to kind of look at the quality assurance side of that. I mean, internally, we have a content team who tear each other apart every day about whether or not they're meeting certain rubrics. And Sal's a big part of that, and he's subject to as much abuse as anybody else. And then we also have external experts. So, I mean, a lot of our math content, needs to fit in with Common Core standards and other things. And so we have people like Bill McCallum, who's kind of been instrumental in creating the Common Core, or people from College Board who look at our content. But then, frankly, I think the big thing is that once the videos are out into the world, all bugs are easy to find when you've got enough eyeballs looking for them. And I think that that's a huge part of what makes our content better, just closing that feedback loop and making sure that we're looking at how the content's being consumed and then reacting appropriately.
Yeah, I'd like to jump. I got Sir Ken Robinson on the mind from that great video. Thanks for making that, Malik. And he's got this great quote that says, we have a tendency to make the measurable important versus the important measurable, which I think speaks to that growth for the sake of growth. Like, why? Why is it important? And also this huge challenge where the internet can provide some insights of how do we make important things more measurable, and should we, and how do we do that over time? It's a very difficult question. I find most measurements on the internet are still quite crude. One of the ways that TED-Ed is tackling this on that platform that I was mentioning that allows teachers to quickly create customized lessons around any video. And one of the sort of modules that you can attach is a dig deeper section. And so the content that we make is really driving at, right, like our core question is, did this make you want to learn more? Did this inspire you to want to learn more? Because we want to create, lifelong learners. We want to feed people's innate curiosity. And so we actually look at the conversion. We like it when people leave TED-Ed to go learn more on another article. In fact, my team often talks about, we're all big bibliophiles, and we often talk about how our successful use case is when they close the computer and read a book because of one of the videos.
We try very hard not to think about views. Obviously, Crash Course is partly supported by Patreon subscribers, but it's partly supported by advertising, so it's impossible to totally divorce yourself from the metrics that matter to advertisers. But what interests us most, and the things that we look at views-wise, is not how many views did a video get in its first week, but how many views did a video get in its 372nd week. And in the case of the most successful Crash Course series, it is bigger in its 372nd week than it is in its first week. And that's important to me. I think that's when you know that it's useful enough to schools and to students that they're going back to it. The other thing that we do, we have a group of teachers who we sort of ask what's working, what's not. Are you seeing Crash Course more in your schools, less in your schools? and they're an incredibly helpful resource. And the last thing that I'd say is that one of the great benefits of having a Patreon campaign, Patreon's this kind of voluntary subscription service, but you can get some perks. So you give $5 a month, and I send you a postcard on Genghis Khan's birthday. But if you donate a little more, you can be part of this monthly kind of strategy session. And those people have become kind of a board of advisors for Crash Course, and they're tremendously helpful. I feel like I'm winning twice. First, they're helping to fund our content, and second, they're these just incredibly smart and interesting people who are big stakeholders in Crash Course's future. And so we like to listen to them and see if they, that group of like 50 or 100 people feel like Crash Course is making the right kind of strategic decisions, trying to reach the right audiences, things like that.
We used to have an arbitrary metric that said, any video, under 20,000 views or whatever is, can be considered a failure. And then we had some videos under 20,000 views, so we dropped it to like 10. And then we had a few. So we just threw that out the door. And like you said, once you stop caring about views, it's, the content that you put out. And I would take more engaged, more interested viewers on a video. We do some videos about the history of chemistry and chemists throughout the ages, and we do a great animated series with it, and they are traditionally almost always lower views than the rest of our videos, but the view time is longer, and we get people leaving more comments on the video. So I would much rather have smaller groups of more engaged viewers than 1 million views on every single video. Or, I mean, to you guys, that's probably,
No, that's good. No, that's good. That'd be good.
1 million is 1 million. But one of the things we did, too, was we actually did a survey, and we asked our audience, and we said, what do you guys, who are you, how old are you, what kind of science background do you have, and what do you like and what do you hate on our channel? And we got an astounding amount of feedback from, like you say, a group of we got about 1,000 responses in a few days. And people said, we love food chemistry, we love, this kind of stuff, we love the life hacks kind of stuff, and we're not so crazy about this stuff, but, the best feedback we got was when we said, what was one thing you could change about the channel? And so many people said nothing. And that feels really good, because that's the people that take the time to respond to a survey like that are your most engaged viewers to begin with. And so that's who we are listening to as well, and we've tried to sort of gear our content to them.
Sure. And one thing I would just add, I think of the kind of the personal impact, and one example, one use case that I have with my oldest, my 13-year-old, when school was in session, and I drop him off every day. He's a middle schooler. The ritual was we go in the car, we listen to a little bit of music, and then I ask him, well, what are you studying in social studies? And then I'll go to my phone, go to YouTube, and usually end up on a Crash Course video, and I'll sort of put the phone right there on the dashboard, and he'll watch the video on the way to school. And I actually got to see real time how it actually positively helped his grades. So that kind of personal impact and return, I think, is really meaningful.
Yeah, I think what Malik's speaking to is that unless you can see it in a person's life, it's almost impossible to measure. I think Khan Academy is closer than anybody else. They've got great assessments. And Logan is completely right in saying that a lot of times we measure what's easy to measure instead of measuring what's actually important. But it's really, really hard. We aren't quite there yet, I think, with assessments that are really effective. But when you see it in an individual's life, I mean, really, the difference is when someone tells you. When it used to be, for many, many years, when people would stop me in the grocery store, it would be because of Vlogbrothers, and then for a couple of years, people would stop me in the grocery store because of The Fault in Our Stars, and now almost every time someone stops me in the grocery store, it's to say thank you for the history, teaching me the history stuff. And that's cool. Like that's what I want to be when I grow up. So that's really cool.
I think one of the interesting things about YouTube and these crowdfunding platforms is they provide some kind of countervailing force, or at least different signals that you can listen to potentially ward off the History Channel effect that has affected kind of cable and other platforms, whereby you definitely want to create more edutainment because that'll get you a bigger audience, and you want all of your videos to have as many views as possible. But I think with the crowdfunding and with the comments that come back and the personal stories, you can actually, if you choose to, you can privilege those and in fact kind of create content that is going to solve that person's problem, as opposed to maybe entertain a lot more people for a fleeting moment before they forget about it forever.
Sure. And personal anecdote of my own is I'm trying to put my daughter to sleep and the sun's still out because it's the solstice, and she's wondering, why is it still light out, Daddy, and why are you trying to make me go to sleep? And I've got like Ducky and Teddy Bear in my hand, and I'm trying to twirl Ducky and Teddy Bear around, and it's like, oh, for Pete's sakes. And I get my iPad and I open up YouTube, and it doesn't matter if 1 million people have watched this video or 10 people. It's like, it's explaining it to my daughter, and that's what matters to me right now. And in terms of analytics, I was just last week, in fact, sitting down with a professor, and I was showing her views on the videos that she's been doing. She records all her lectures. And ironically, as we went down the list to see the students who had watched the most videos, and we get down to the bottom of the long tail, and we have the students who have watched almost no videos, she was pointing out, oh, these are my most successful students because they're paying attention in class. And so they don't need to come back and watch her lectures. And so in scenarios such as those, or when students are uploading their assignments into our walled garden video systems, where the videos are going to get watched only once or twice, that is a success. When these videos are being watched 1,000 times, then we've screwed up somewhere because someone's watching the students' videos and they shouldn't be. So it's not simply about getting the most views, but about getting those important, engaging views. Let's talk a little bit about QA and fact-checking. Now, YouTube is the platform, but on the other hand, anyone can make a video and say, this is science, and they put that video online.
They sure can.
You guys are certainly a little bit more organized than that. So if you guys can tell us a little bit about maybe your fact-checking processes, and we can start over here with Logan.
Sure. So again, TED-Ed is an open nomination platform, so there's a certain amount of veracity achieved through the fact that it is a teacher to begin with, someone who is fluent and hopefully mastered the content. We work with them. We also independently fact check the script as it reaches its final form. And then we publish the video, and if we get something wrong, our community lets us know. And we try really, really hard because it's scary and it's wrong to publish something wrong, but it's also going to happen. It's important to know that. And I actually think it's important for YouTube to make product changes that help correct for that or celebrate that, right? Like, mistakes aren't all bad, right? You can show the process and understand that academically that it's actually an interesting line of inquiry. Like, what is fact checkable, what isn't? I don't know. But we're pretty robust in our fact checking, and 99% of the time we get it right.
Now, TED-Ed has additional supplemental materials in addition to the video itself. I remember watching one of the very first TED-Ed videos, an animation about a professor at Humboldt University. I think it was Stephen Salette, who does research work in the redwoods in Northern California. And as I was watching this video, I was fascinated by it, and I thought I was really seeing something new and different with what TED-Ed was doing there. And about halfway through the video, I learned that Stephen Salette had gotten his PhD at Oregon State University, and which was, wow, this is great. I need to tell everybody about this. And it's like, why had I never heard about this guy before? And then by the end of the video, it's like, why had I never heard about this guy before? And I started becoming very suspicious. But as with the supplemental materials, I was able to do the digging and the research and realize, of course, I'm just ignorant. I didn't realize this guy existed.
Sure. But I thought you were going to say we got it wrong.
Yeah.
I was like texting my team.
It was a great day for me because I had learned something new. You guys had definitely done all that work, and I was very comfortable sharing it with the world, and I did. So I'm very thankful that you guys did that fact checking and you made those citations available. And
thanks.
You guys want to talk a little bit more about fact checking on your end?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a big audience and you get something wrong, you find out very, very quickly, and it's a bad, really heart-sickening feeling. I remember like the second or third crash course video we made, in an animation we had the Nile flowing in the wrong direction. And I looked at comments like 8 minutes after uploading, and there were literally no other comments. I was the only person on Earth who didn't know that. 8-year-olds being like, well, surely you know. And, you know, Stan and I, the producer of Crash Course, had a brief conversation, and then, you know, took the video down and put the Nile going the other way and put the video back up. I think sometimes you can use annotations to make corrections. One of the difficulties is that, and I understand why YouTube doesn't, or maybe you do and I just don't know the newest, but I understand the complexity of whether it's okay to take down a video and put back up a mostly similar video and keep the same view count and keep the same like algorithmic relationship, because that is a system that could be very easily cheated. But yeah, it is a bummer to have to take down a video because it hurts you in the long term with the algorithm. So we do try to fact check quite rigorously and offer things up to our audience, give the audience the tools they need to fact check us further, which we haven't always done a good job of, but I think we're doing a good job of now, hopefully.
Yeah, we try very hard to put all of the sources that we've used, I mean, usually at the script writing phase, we'll get them all listed in the script so that whoever's posting it can go back in, and while they're posting it, everything in the description can just post the sources as well. We've had similar things. The thing about doing a chemistry channel is that a lot of your audience is chemists, and chemists look at things very carefully. And so we now have 2 people, we have a group of science advisors that are science writers and other PhD chemists that work at ACS that do all of our molecule watching for us, and we'll look at every molecular structure that we have, and we've had to build out a very specific pattern and artwork for that, because it's the first thing that any scientist looking at it will comment on is like, well, you know, how are you supposed to be taken seriously as a science channel when your bond angles are all screwed up? And I don't know, because I don't know what that is. So what's funny is that the people who write the scripts are generally myself and our producer Elaine, who I think is here, and others. Hello. We do a lot of the primary research. We do a lot of our own fact checking, and then we hand it off to experts, either a specific subject matter expert for that video or our sort of internal team of experts. So probably 6 to 8 people touch a script before it goes out, and we still get things wrong sometimes. Annotations we sometimes use, and I think maybe once or twice we've had to completely pull a video. But the great thing is if you're right and people comment and say you're wrong, we have a gang of chemists that will comment and be like, listen. And our community does the policing and the fact checking for us, so that's great.
So, yeah, I mean, I would just agree with everything that's been said. We've had to professionalize a lot since it was Sal in his, you know, closet making videos, and so now we have a content team that look at that. I would also say though that this the speed with which the loop can be closed is probably unprecedented in educational history, and so I think that it's not that mistakes haven't existed before in the textbooks and all those other kinds of things. It's just that they've all gone unnoticed, and kids have been learning the wrong things, and they haven't really, you know, the correction mechanisms have taken a lot longer. So I think, you know, I'm kind of bullish on our ability to start that dialogue dialogue and have that conversation in a productive way.
I agree. I was at a really cool event yesterday with a group of teachers, and one thing that came up we were talking about is online video, the new teacher, and the feedback was, and the sentiment was that online video is not the new teacher, online video is the new textbook, which is something that really resonated. The textbook can't have this conversation. The textbook can't have a community that says, hey, this is off. The textbook can't have comments that then comments back. There's definitely features that we've heard requested before, like editing and updating, and we think a lot about that. But I think that opportunity that we're in today with such a dynamic new textbook in a way is excellent.
I'm reminded about a video from Veritasium, Derek Muller, called This Will Revolutionize Education. And he actually goes through a list of technologies that were supposed to change all of education. And in fact, some of them just fell by the wayside, and some of them just got adopted. And I'm reminded that, I mean, at Oregon State University, we've been using media since the postage stamp, when our extension officers were sending out pamphlets to farmers. We were the first radio station in the state, and one of our first broadcasts was a tutorial on canning techniques. So media is simply adopted by higher education, and we move forward. 10 years ago, your professor rolled a cart into the classroom and played a VHS tape or a DVD. Now they roll that cart into the classroom and they might play a crash course video. Now, video is the new textbook, yes, but it's not necessarily a very innovative adoption of video. Are there any more innovative ways of using video than simply playing that video in front of a bunch of students? Is there any other way of engaging a student with video?
I'd love to start, just because I'd love to hear everyone's answer about the innovations. Mine's a little more at the sort of like fundamental level of that question. I think there actually is a difference. I get it, like the hype cycle for each technology in schools is crazy and blown out of, and damaging actually. But I think when you roll, a crash course video into a classroom, or let's go brain scoop just to mix it up, a brain scoop video into a classroom, there is and it's on YouTube or some other online platform, it doesn't have to be YouTube, there's an implicit promise in that video that you can also upload a video and that you can have a dialogue with that person. And I think that's actually a really big innovation, right? Like everyone has this voice inside their head that they want to have understood by the world. And by students understanding that, this new textbook or this thing on the cart playing a video is an outlet for their ideas is a major innovation. I mean, it sort of like sidesteps your question a little bit, but I think that's one of those important measures that should be mentioned.
We talk a lot, we worry a lot about whether it's too passive, I mean, the great thing about online video is that it's not passive. That makes it terrible for advertisers who want you to be, staring dead-eyed. I'm sorry, I know a lot of your advertisers, and I like advertising. I thank you for advertising on Crash Course, but ultimately, your priority is that you would in a perfect world for someone to stare dead-eyed at CSI and then boom, there's the advertisement. But I think the way it's going to work, I think you can be a passive viewer in a classroom, right? It's easy to do other things. It's easy to get bored. It's easy to hand notes. That's problematic. Some people say flipped classrooms can address that. I don't know. I'm not an educator. I think though that one thing that does work is pausing the video and talking, and then playing the video more, and then pausing the video and talking. So in the curricular materials that Stan has been working on, the head of our Crash Course team, with Joe and with some people, with some other people, it's designed to do that. It tells you spots where you can stop it and say, is John right about that? Or is John kind of oversimplifying to try to get into this video to be 9 minutes long? And if John is oversimplifying, let's look at how. If John just said there were 5 cool things about the Mongols, were there? Maybe there were 6, and he just ran out of time. And I think that's I like the play between the curricular materials that we're making available, which are text-based mostly and image-based, and the video. And so I think there might be some potential there. But I also think that I agree with Logan that I do think that this is more of a lasting change because of the updatability of it and because of the fact of being able to respond and that response becoming part of the project.
Yeah, we have always heard from high school and some undergraduate chemistry teachers that they show our videos. They like to show our videos, but they've shown them as a jumping off point into something. So we just did a video this week on the Maillard reaction, which is what makes your toast brown and which makes your steak brown. It turns things brown, to get scientific about it. But you know, a teacher could play that, and it's 3.5 minutes long, and then they could do the rest of the unit on the Maillard reaction and its role in chemistry. But it's like a hook for kids because, or for teenagers, or for that group, because that platform, that YouTube, is where they are when they're not in school, and sometimes when they are in school. But when they're not in school, they're watching YouTube videos, and they may not be educational, but that's where they are. And being where they are and using that as a tool to jumpstart a piece of curriculum is far more effective than saying we're doing chapter 3 today. And that's a very apt description that it's the new textbook, not the new teacher, because I do not watch my videos thinking that I will teach you chemistry, because you don't want me teaching you chemistry.
Right, yeah, you just want to get people excited about chemistry, right? Like if you can in the first 8 minutes get excited and have a question that's a big question that needs answering in your life for your life to get better. Like if you can feel that way, instead of like it's these arbitrary hurdles that you've been told that you have to jump over in order to get this piece of paper that you've been told you need to go jump over more arbitrary hurdles to get yet a different piece of paper. Like that is so soul-sucking and dehumanizing and objectifying of the human being who's trying to do these things, that it completely loses track of the fact that what you're actually trying to do is contextualize yourself better in the universe, which is this joyful, exciting, super weird thing, and it's incredibly exciting, and you can't suck the guts out of that. And I like that idea. I mean, that's how we imagine Crash Course initially, as a jumping off point. I will say though, and I don't know what James is going to say about this, that like Khan Academy, in my opinion, like finds ways to make content joyful and exciting while also still being pretty completist.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we're trying to do. I mean, I think that we're absolutely trying to push back against that idea that you need to, something needs to be inherently full of bells and whistles in order to kind of capture someone's attention. But at the same time, we want to absolutely do what you're saying, John, which is kind of find that inherent beauty in something that's complex. And I think that the common theme, one of the things I'm kind of taking away from both the Veritasium video and something that everyone on the panel said, is that teachers aren't going away. You know, I actually think that one thing that we talk about internally a little bit is the concept of the centaur in chess. I'm not sure if this is something that's kind of more broadly known, but Garry Kasparov was the guy who first lost to the first world champion chess player who lost to a computer. And I think that anxiety is in education circles of like, we're going to lose our teachers to these computers. And I think that everyone on the panel has just said, well, no, that's not going to happen. But what is going to happen, and I think what's interesting is to contemplate that perhaps what Garry did was he said, all right, I lost, but then he created a league of what are called centaurs, which are humans that can use computers. And then they go against each other and they go against computers. And since that happened, the world champion in chess has never been a computer or a human. It's always been a centaur. And I think that teachers can be and will become centaurs in that way. And I think that what we're talking about is whether it's using video as a jumping off point, or in fact using video or other online mechanisms to enable each student to be learning at their own learning edge rather than each student learning at the same pace as everybody else. All of these different things I think are going to become possible as teachers become centaurs, but I don't think we're there yet. I think that's kind of something for the future.
The great thing too, and I sort of to jump in there, that because YouTube is an open platform, one of the things that you can do as a teacher is say, now you guys make a video. You guys team up. You guys make a video about a topic, about something. We've done that with, we have a competition through ACS called ChemChamps, which is undergraduate all the way through PhD students. Tell us about your research in 3 minutes or less. And the wealth of creativity that came out of that from somebody literally sitting in a bathroom stall in their university chemistry building, you know, talking about their research and using Snapchat icons to, I mean, fully produced, you know, whiteboard kind of style drawings. It was amazing the response that we got, and people, you know, using the platform in their own way. And so you're essentially just you're bringing that world that they already occupy and saying now, you know, now you do something with this. You can use it to teach and to learn as well.
Just to add to that, you know, I think that so much of this is about going to where the kids are at, going to where the students are at in their voice, communicating to them in ways that they're comfortable with. And when I think about the richness of the creator base, you know, you can be a learner and want to find an educator who maybe, you know, you're a little bit more comfortable with. Maybe in class you're not as comfortable, but there's someone that's speaking in a way that really connects to you. We think a lot about the diversity of the creator base and the educational creator base on YouTube, and it's something that we want to strive for even more, to have more options and more faces and genders. You know, we're an all-male panel up here, but you know, it's, and we shouldn't be, by the way, but having gender diversity, multicultural diversity, you know, amongst that base, we think is really important, so we can resonate more with the end users and the learners.
I think that's really important. I also think it's really difficult, because I think right now online video is structured against to make it difficult for women creators to succeed on a number of levels. Most especially, the level of harassment is vastly different. The level of threatened violence is vastly different on average for women online than it is for men. But I think it's something that I hope it's something that YouTube will invest in. I know it's something that's a priority for you guys, but I think that without active investment in that space, it won't just happen naturally. Because what will happen naturally is that you know, this is what will happen without an active choice. And the other thing I wanted to say, though, is that Presley is in the audience, my favorite YouTube teacher, who is, I think, I don't know, 7 and 9, 10, okay, 10. She gets older each year. And there's coming a vastly different and far more exciting world than the current one, which is the world in which Presley and the millions of other young people who have learned via online video, who have lived with YouTube video as their way of thinking through the world, both in education terms and not, as they come of age and they want to be YouTube creators and they want to be in this educational space, they are going to blow all of us away. It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely.
I agree. Video is such an accelerator of innovation. So your question is about, like, how do we do more innovative videos? But actually, I think that the power in video is to accelerate innovation. One example is breakdancing. So breakdancing in the 80s or 90s or whenever it was at its sort of founding peak, you had to be 26, 27 and live in a place where there was breakdancing to make it happen. Now you look at a 6-year-old with access to YouTube and they can do every move that a 26 or 27-year-old. a more academic example than breakdancing, although I think learning breakdancing is very important.
It seems like you're going to demonstrate some right now.
Yeah, look, this mic, so wired. But right, like gravitational waves or something like that. That was news. That hit all of our feeds, and no one understood it. And you could go and find a video, and all the 6th graders out there who are like, "What's it sound like when 2 black holes collide across space-time?" got their answer, and that's their starting point. Right, so video was able to help that. I think it's such an exciting medium that just accelerates innovation.
And just quickly, like a non-video example, but so much about relevance, is Hamilton and the soundtrack and the musical for Hamilton. Yeah, give it up for Hamilton.
Shout out to Hamilton.
Like, you know, American history is cool. Like, I listen to the soundtrack as I drive that same 13-year-old into to school, and it it speaks on that hip hop R&B level and just makes it so accessible. There's a channel on YouTube, Flocabulary, that does something really similar across different subject matters, but making it relevant, I think, is so important.
This whole time we've really been talking about how online videos have been augmenting traditional education, but we touched on another subject. In fact, I attended Emily Grassley's panel yesterday where she mentioned that she was tired of being on panels about women on YouTube. I was more interested about the impact of online education for women who don't necessarily can access education in other ways, where traditional education isn't available to them. But not just women, but also the disenfranchised. John, you've been to refugee camps in Jordan where people don't necessarily have access to education in the traditional sense. Now, does online video have a place for helping the disenfranchised in those contexts?
I mean, I think it's a really complicated question. I will say in Jordan and in a lot of the world, the gender gap, especially in primary education, is closing really fast, and that's one of the great achievements of the Millennium Development Goals and of the last 30 years around the world, and that should be celebrated. It's still not where it needs to be, which is why we have these new Millennium Development Goals to try to get there by 2030. When I was in Jordan, I saw a lot of iPads that were totally useless. There were no shortage of iPads, it's just that you couldn't do anything with them. So they were just very easily breakable pieces of glass. And I think one thing I feel really strongly about, the rich world cannot go to the poor world and impose our solutions on their problems. It will never work. And so what we have to do, and what I was trying to do in Jordan, is we have to listen. People living in Zaatari refugee camp understand the problems of living in Zaatari refugee camp far better than I will after being there for 100 hours, and they also understand the solutions better, and they have extremely innovative solutions. I mean, for instance, solar power is everywhere to charge smartphones, but they don't have the internet speed to do a lot of what they need to do to use online video as a tool. That said, I did meet with one extraordinary kid, and I want to emphasize that he was extremely unusual. He was unusually well educated. He was unusually bright. He had an unusually supportive family. This is a story of hope, but it's not a story of commonness. I met one kid who had genuinely learned English from 0 words to being able to speak to me as I'm speaking to you in 3 months with the help of a refugee tutor who spoke some English and YouTube videos. And it was an incredible thing to watch him show me how he watched YouTube. His way of watching YouTube is exhausting and incredibly complicated, but he was very highly motivated and he made it work, and he figured out, these are the videos that will help me, and they're of the right length that I can download them, and sorry, Malik, he downloaded them illegally. And made it work. I think 10 years out, 20 years out, we're going to have a chance at big solutions there. We need the tech to be there, but the biggest thing I think that we need to do is we need to be listening, and it's really, really hard to listen to those systemically silenced voices. But if we do a better job of listening, we can get the solutions there faster.
So in the no time we have left, you're talking about 10 years out and 20 years out in the future. Let's look at the future either for your organizations or for online video as a whole. Briefly, if each of you can give us maybe something that you're working on or something you see coming. James, you're doing something with the College Board that's coming up, or you've begun?
I guess what we're doing with College Board, I guess, would be emblematic to where I'd go with the answer to that question, which is that for us anyway, online video is hopefully becoming part of a tapestry, a new system of education. I think one of the things that's been happening for a long time is that we still have a very, the Prussian model of education, the kind of, I mean, if you go to I've been talking to a whole bunch of teachers recently, and they'll all say, in the majority of classrooms, we teach a unit, we do a quiz, we move on to the next unit. Problem with that is that you've had the quiz, you've worked out the bits that the students don't know right in time to go into the next unit to kind of forget about all that stuff that we just found out they didn't know. So every student is going through the system with these kind of Swiss cheese gaps kind of accumulating throughout their education. And I think that the power of online video and online education is not just that it's more democratic or that it's more accessible and it's meeting the students where they are, although all of that is super powerful and great. It's hopefully that it can give rise to a system that is not kind of throwing away all that really useful data about what students don't know and empowering students to take charge of their own learning. And what we're doing with the SAT and with College Board has been enabling students to upload their PSAT scores as a super granular diagnostic on a question-by-question level of what they know and don't know in their PSAT, and then go on Khan Academy and basically focus on the bits where they can grow the most, but between the PSAT and their SAT, and do that all for free. And the idea is we want to kind of destroy this crazy and inequitable situation where you can essentially pay for better SAT scores. And we want to give the best SAT prep to everyone, no matter what their background is. And so that's what I hope is kind of a harbinger of the future, and the fact that everyone can kind of have that kind of education whenever they want as kind of a basic human right.
The future, first of all, is very exciting. I'm working on a sequel to Paper Towns.
Thank you. Thank God someone is.
No, I think that we had always set out to kind of demystify chemistry, and there will always be people that think science is hard, and they will be right. And regardless of whether it's chemistry or any other scientific topic, what this has taught me is the desire for knowledge is out there, and it is so powerful. And people who can't get it from a classroom, either because their teacher is lazy or because they don't have access to it, will seek it out. And it's our responsibility to be right in terms of scientific content, and it's our responsibility to make it accessible to them in a way that they can get the knowledge that they're looking for, because it's not that the kids just want to watch the YouTubes all day and just watch cat videos. They want to learn, and they want to do it in their way. And I think the more we can nurture that curiosity and that need for knowledge, the better as a world we will be.
For us, the big priority for the future is making content for people outside the English-speaking world, and that's what we're trying to figure out how to do and how to do well and focusing on right now.
I'll take the non-TED Ed answer and back to what John was saying about listening in a refugee camp in his case. I think video in 10 years it's a listening amplification tool, right? Those iPads do have cameras. Those iPads can capture stories. There is a platform that exists that get that story up. And I think video as a tool is very, very powerful. I did that VR experience where you're basically teleported to a Syrian refugee camp. It is a documentary. For me, it was transformative. My brother's a social studies teacher. I sent it to him immediately and said, you have to show this to your class. VR has a long way to go, whatever, it's an infrastructure thing, who knows. But in terms of building empathy, it was immediate. I was standing in front of a soccer team of Syrian soccer players, and I'm a soccer player, and like so far from the New York Times headlines, which was my only context for that before. So I think video as a tool, video as an empathy driver, video as something that makes problems portable and more solvable. There's cameras crawling Mars, crawling inside of bodies. That footage is going to, give people a surface area to do things that we've never dreamed possible because they can see it. And I think that's, on a 10-year trajectory, what I'm most excited about.
I agree with all of that, and I would say that more connectivity would be one. I think it's about half the world is online connected, and to reach the parts and pockets of the world where they can't stream, where they can't discover great educational content, getting that world connected, and then I think this goes along the same lines, but really leveling the playing field. Leveling the playing field with creators. We talked a little bit about diversity, but I think that's really important that we lean into that, and leveling the playing field for learners also, and that's what education brings to the table.
All right. Well, I guess that's time for us. I'd like to thank our panel for being here and answering our questions. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, guys. That was pretty amazing. All right, everybody now say goodbye, world. Goodbye, world. Thank you, guys. This was great. We're going to take a quick, half-hour break. It's quick or not quick, depending on how long 30 minutes is for you. But come back in here because we're going to be focusing on international in just about 30 minutes. So thank you, guys, and thank these. What a great panel, right? It's amazing.